Hello, darkness, my old friend. Welcome, everyone, to Screams After Midnight. And we promised that when Tim came back that we'd return to a franchise that I was not particularly in love with.
I guess it's safe to say this is one where we're not always on the same page, maybe.
I mean, that is accurate. But you could go a bit further, I think, and say that we have never been reading the same book. I even think we're in the same library, Tim. Right?
Okay. Interesting. Okay, I guess that's one way to look at it, sure.
Nor do I think we're reading in the same language. This is a horror movie podcast, everyone. Welcome to Screams After Midnight. I am
Top
Pierre.
of the morning to you.
I am Pierre. That is Tim. And we talk about horror movies. We are, of course, as all the hinting might imply, talking about Leprechaun 6,
Woo!
Back to the Hood.
Wow. 6 movies in. Did you ever believe it?
I don't want to believe it. I want to believe that this didn't happen, that this has all been some sort of fever dream, and that some producer at Lionsgate didn't go, we'll make another one. They'll make another one. And this does mark something of a conclusion. It's not the last Leprechaun movie. We still have 2 more to do. But it is the end of the Warwick Davis era of Leprechaun.
Sadly, yes.
It always shocks me, Tim, is this movie came out in 2003, which I don't know if you if this occurs to you immediately, but that's only 10 years after the first one.
Wow. Prolific.
In 10 years, they made Leprechaun, Leprechaun 2, which was like the tour guide one, Leprechaun 3, which was the casino movie.
Right, Las Vegas, yeah.
Yes. Leprechaun 4, which was in space with Heidi the Tool-Time Girl.
Yep, science fiction, yeah.
That's science fiction. That's how you define science fiction. Okay. Leprechaun 5, In the Hood. And In the Hood was so successful, apparently. It was such a hit that they decided to return to that well for one more go-round. And,
I gotta admit, I always come into these movies with, a very open mind, and I was a little...
Open, more like open legs, but alright, go on.
I was a little skeptical about this one because when I think of the franchise, I usually think about like moving forward. Like they always are trying to, top what they did previously. Like last one we're in Hollywood. Now we'll go to Las Vegas. Now we'll go to outer space. Now we'll go to the hood. And so it feels...
Hold on a second. Can we talk about the progression there? Hollywood to Vegas to space, the hood. Yeah. The hood is after space.
Well, the thing is, like, space is so big that they had to bring it back, which I think, like sometimes, like when comic books, when you have a big event, like you can't just go from like one big event to another big event. Like after that, you kind of got to do like a little, smaller, more grounded, down to earth arc. Which is, what they did with Into Hood, which, was very successful. And I think, we were singing its praises last podcast that we did on it. And then, so I was a little skeptical to see that they were just returning to this well, but I kind of, thought that they must have something more that needed to be said. And I was right, because this movie, it definitely does not feel like a retread from the last one. I feel like there's like a lot of new nuance that's brought to it, honestly, and it's fun. You get to see a lot of stuff that we haven't seen before. So I'll let you go on, but I just wanted to kind of say that little bit right up front.
That was a lot. That was a lot to take in. I particularly like how you spun the word new into nuance without skipping a beat.
Yeah, it does have new nuance in this. There's nuance in here that we haven't seen before.
You know, Tim, you're returning to this show, and I was, continuing this streaming fever dream that is otherwise known as a nightmare. It's a double-edged. I was looking forward. I was excited. I was excited to talk about horror movies again. I generally enjoy the banter, the rapport that the dream team that is the professor and the schoolboy is. But yeah, there was a double-edged sword. Your returning was a double-edged sword, because I knew with your return it also meant this movie. It also meant having to watch and discuss Leprechaun Back to the Hood. So,
well, the problem with the double-edged sword is that it can cut two ways. So you think about that.
Are you picking apart my metaphor? You said I should be saying it's a monkey's paw. It's more of a
no. I'm adding to the metaphor.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I mean,
I'm taking your metaphor and I'm weaving it into a cautionary tale.
So, some bad actress falls into a hole and finds the leprechaun's gold, which brings the leprechaun back to life and on the hunt.
Are we doing spoilers? Or?
No, we're not in spoilers yet. This is just a basic premise.
Okay.
And of course, the leprechaun ends up hunting for his gold and kills some people in the hood as the movie progresses.
Yeah, in this movie, he's looking for his gold.
Oh, yes, as opposed to all the other movies where he was doing what exactly? Was he looking for the baby John in the last one?
Well, in the second one, he was looking for a bride.
Fair point.
Then the fourth one, I think he wanted to be like King of the Galaxy or something.
So, yes, Leprechaun is right. So we're not in spoilers yet. It probably won't be long before we're in spoilers, because I mean, like, no one gives a shit about spoilers for Back to the Hood. But I'll ask Tim the question even though it's very clear how Tim feels, because he's made it no secret up until this point. But Tim, how did you feel about Leprechaun 6 Back to the Hood?
It's interesting because this is the first Leprechaun movie I've watched since I became a father, and I was interested if that would, what my perception of these movies would be with this new life experience. And I gotta say, I was kind of blown away by. First of all,
hold on.
Yeah.
So this having a new effect on you as a father, is it because your son is much closer to his height than you are? Is that the connection here?
Well, there's that, but then there's also, when you have a child, there's a lot of things you have to think about, and like, I do see this movie as a bit of a cautionary tale. Like, I don't want my son to grow up and be greedy and wanting to find this gold, even though when he's warned that not to have it and all the misfortune that can come with fortune. That's why actually whenever anyone talks about fortune, I always call it misfortune, because the kind of things that can happen, like a leprechaun coming after you when you find it. But yeah, no, when I did definitely watch this movie through a father's eyes, and I don't want my son to grow up and feel like he needs, to acquire wealth, and he needs to hoard this gold, and he needs to think of himself over others. So in that way, I do think the movie succeeds as a cautionary tale. So it was nice to have this kind of extra level to it, as opposed to, I feel like a lot of movies you watch nowadays kind of just have the one very simple level to it that, you know, let's face it, is usually often kind of redundant and pedantic. So it was nice to actually watch something that felt like it had a little more depth and thought put into it, and was something honestly that I can take with me in my everyday life, not just after, you know, the movie stops and I, you know, press the little red power button on the, you know, top left corner of my remote that turns off the TV. You know, after I press that button, I don't have to, you know, it leaves me with something to think about, as opposed to just kind of instantly, you know, being flushed out of my brain like a big old hunk of poo that you take. You know, this is actually something that sticks with you for time to being. And yeah, and there's some good kills in it. I think the Lep gets a chance to shine in a few key moments. I was surprised at the comedy that was brought to this. You know, he's playing a little bit of a goofier version of the Leprechaun in this, as opposed to other movies where he's a little more sinister. This is kind of like, you know, the later Nightmare on Elm Street movies where Freddy kind of starts turning into a bit of like a cartoon kind of Bugs Bunny character. I can definitely see it influence in these movies like that, where, you know, the Lep is doing some pretty silly stuff, but I can't really get too mad at it because I was laughing. I was laughing the whole time. You know, he's very funny, but again, that's just kind of a, you know, a testament to, you know, Mr. Davis's acting skills that he brings to the franchise, which, again, the next two movies he's not in, so I don't know how we're gonna feel about him. But yeah, so I guess if I was gonna rate this out of 10,
whoa, yo, you skipped to the head there, Timmy.
Okay, sorry.
We're at the start of the show, not the end.
Okay, sorry. It's been a while.
Well, we did one last week, but yeah, sure. I mean, before I say anything about the movie, I just want to congratulate Tim on his commitment to sounding like he's in a mockumentary every time he reviews a Leprechaun movie, with that faux, like, serious, critical kind of tone, talking about the gravitas and the semblance of perfection of the weight of the thing he's discussing. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's the most bullshit you've ever smelled. Even my cat, who's on my lap, is distressed. It was looking very upset through all that because he can smell shit. He's a cat. He's got a better nose than I do. You know, that's, you know, humans are not burdened with a strong, you know, scent. Our noses aren't as good as most animals. Most animals have much better smells than we do. But I mean, where does one be? I mean, I'll say the most positive thing I can say about this movie to start with, Tim.
Oh, nice. Okay.
It's not as bad as the last one.
Oh, okay. All right. That's good. So we are kind of on the same page here. A little copacetic.
It's not as bad as the last one. It's still a bad movie. It still has bad acting. It still has very stereotypical characters that are very thin. A couple of which are particularly annoying. There's the stoner character who just grates on you pretty quickly. I will say I was a little surprised but relieved that this movie actually dialed back the dumb comedy a bit. At least as far as Leprechaun himself goes, it kind of felt like it's not so much that they tried to make him serious again, but they kind of kept him off screen and just sort of teased him for longer before he started.
It's a good balance.
Yeah. Shut up. It took him a little bit longer before he was actively saying lines of dialogue on screen and things like that. And it definitely felt there was much less of it than the last one. Yeah.
Well, a big part of this movie is making way for, you know, honestly, what you might say is kind of the, you know, the star, the lead, which is the Hood itself. I mean, the Hood is a character in these movies. You know, and I feel like they take a lot of time, you know, getting to know exactly what the Hood is, what the Hood's like, because you really need to understand the Hood before you can introduce the Leprechaun into it. because that's when things kind of start getting shaken up.
Oh, it's going to be the wrench in the works that
exactly.
Yeah, changes the smooth workings of the hood as we know it. Yes. I mean, the kills are
good. Good.
They're passable for the sort of budget that this thing has. There's definitely at least one really. This is not a kill scene, admittedly, but there's one really weird exterior shot of just like the house they're in. They didn't look at a house or an apartment, but the exterior shot, it looks almost like they built a cheap miniature so they could do like a shot with like a full moon in the background, but the background's fully painted, and it looks really fake, and it stuck out because it's like, what is this? What is this weird 2003 movie? And the first thing, the technical thing I want to talk about is that 5 minutes into this movie, when I saw my third clock wipe transition between scenes, this movie loves. Someone stumbled into the Windows Movie Maker menu that has all the animated transitions, and they thought, we're going to use every single one of these mother effers. That's what they were thinking. We get page turn clock, or not clock wipes. We get page turn wipes later on. We get side wipes. We get all sorts of fancy wipes, transition scenes.
It's a style for sure, but I like that they're trying to. Most movies will just go to the next scene, which is honestly a little boring. So I liked. I like the wipes. I like that this movie had a lot of wipes.
You like that feeling of a 12-year-old playing around with Windows Movie Maker in 2003 and discovering what they could do with it. Honestly,
if I was gonna say anything negative about this movie, it might be that I could have used more wipes. Honestly, like, why does it just have to be between scenes? Like, why can't we just get like a wipe halfway between someone talking?
Well, so you want every time it does like a cut back and forth between two people, like every single time it transitions between their faces, you want the wipe, the clock wipe.
I think it would help, because sometimes I did get a little confused when someone new would be talking, so it would definitely help with the confusion.
You think adding radial effects would help with the confusion and not add to it?
just so you know someone new is talking. No, I don't know. This okay, I'll admit that might be a me problem, but I'm sure I'm not the only one out there.
That's DDS, delirious dad syndrome. Just watching the movie in a stupor, not having any idea what's going on. Oh dear. I'll be honest, Tim, I am shocked. I am shocked that you have not called me a ninja yet. I am gobsmacked.
Yeah, I thought about it.
I know, of course you did.
But I don't know. I like to be overly cautious, and just I'm like, I'm not even gonna go there. I'm not even gonna say that because I don't even know if that's inappropriate. No,
I don't think. I think it's just this movie's dumb joke. I don't think it's actually a thing. Yeah, it's just a joke.
It was funny.
I don't know if I'd go that far. Basically, one of the characters has decided that the usual racial term that's used is old hat, and decides to replace it randomly with ninja, and it kind of becomes a running gag throughout the movie that he says ninja instead.
I could be wrong, but I feel like I've heard that somewhere else before. I don't know where though. Cheers or something. I don't know.
Do you know what it sounds like? It sounds like, I mean, this was not a UK thing, but I know in the US you have those dubbed versions of movies for TV. It kind of sounds like a movie that had tons of racial language in it was like dubbed, but so the whole movie is just ninja this, ninja that.
Well, I mean, it's probably a little harder for you because I think you're not even allowed to say ninja in the UK, or at least for a while you weren't.
Why?
Because, well, you know how maybe you aren't aware of this, but you know how, like, I don't know if it's the whole UK or if it's just Britain, but they couldn't say Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They had to say Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles.
Do you know what? I was prepared for you to say something really stupid, but that was actually a really good pool. That was a good reference. Yes, no,
It's true, right?
This is true. Basically, the BBFC, who are, RMPA, but they also rate TV stuff, basically decided that Ninja, because of what a ninja is, was too violent to be rated for all ages, so they had to change it to Hero Turtles, the cartoon. I think the movie was still Ninja, because the movie was like a PG or whatever, so it was fine. But
Yeah.
the cartoon on TV, they had to call it Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles.
Which honestly I prefer, because I did think the ninja part was a little scary. So maybe I got a little English in me. Who knows?
That was an impressive reference, Tim. I'm actually quite impressed with that. You are saying 99% in character bullshit this review. That was actually a nice pull. So applaud to
Thank you,
Timothy. All right, do we just give the spoiler warning and work through this thing? Because I don't know how much there is to say without discussing the characters and the plot and what's going on. I mean,
should we thank our patrons?
What? Oh, no, I'll do that at the end. That's fine.
You used to do it in the middle sometimes.
I used to do it in the middle.
Okay.
But I realized that the ad break on the YouTube goes in the middle, and I was like, it's a bit weird that they get like a pause for the patron thing and also the ad break. So I figure I'll go at the end. So it's
you want to know what the worst is?
Yeah.
So I've been like working out a little bit because I've been trying to get in shape. I've always like, oh, thank you. Yeah, because I mean, especially with quarantine, like I wasn't in the best shape or whatever, but I've been like kind of following this like workout, these workout videos on YouTube. From this guy.
Oh, I was wondering how this was going to tie into what led to this.
Oh no, that's. But like the thing that's like really annoying is like sometimes he'll just have like random commercial breaks like in the middle of like a thing. So like he'll be doing like, like you'll be doing a sit up and he's like, all right, so like I want you to like stay there and hold your position, and then like it'll go to an ad break and you're like, no, you son of a.
That almost feels like it's intentional. It's like a piss take on whoever's like following the video. Like, well, you're gonna have to either break the hold to click the skip after the 5 seconds, or you're gonna have to just hold it for like 30 seconds to a minute, however long the ad is. Like, damn you. All right, okay. So full spoilers for that. I mean, the spoiler free. It's about as shit as you expect it to be. So
wow. Okay. All right.
So full spoilers from this point on. We actually start this movie with like they try to like do some lore. There's like a storybook thing at the start that tells the history.
I was blown away by this because I thought, I was like, 6 movies in, we haven't really learned the backstory of the Leprechaun. So I was very happy that was the first thing they did, especially with this just beautiful animation. Beautiful 2003 hand-drawn
vintage
animation.
Animation from 2003.
Yeah, if they did it nowadays, it'd be CGI and it'd look terrible. But this was good animation.
Yes. So
like, were you kind of surprised about the Leprechaun's origin?
I mean, full disclosure here, I might have not been paying complete attention during the story time bit because it just felt like nonsense. It was something to the effect of a bunch of people, including our leprechaun, were like protecting the king's gold, and when the king died, they were all meant to go like back into the earth, but he stayed and got evil. Am I on the right track?
Yeah. So like I guess the king summoned these leprechauns or raised these leprechauns from hell or something, I don't know, to protect his gold, and then like you said, when he died or whatever, they were supposed to go back into the earth, but then one stayed. I don't really know why. He's just kind of like, I'm staying.
Yeah, well, I think later on the psychic lady said, he stayed and became twisted and evil. So that made me think they didn't start off evil. Like he just became like a demented version of what he is. Yeah,
it really makes you wonder. Like, I wonder if they ever had plans to do like a full-on like medieval leprechaun. Like, I can imagine how good that would be. Hopefully, I mean, someday I'll cross my fingers, but that'd be great. Maybe get Warwick Davis in for one last shot at the role.
Oh yeah, Leprechaun 7: Return of the Bling.
Yeah, there you go. That's good.
Yeah, you like
I'd watch it.
But then we cut to like it cuts to a section that feels like it's meant to be like the last couple of minutes of a prior movie, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't the last few minutes of the last movie. Not that I remember it that well, but like this scene is just new, right?
Yeah.
This priest who's like basically treating Leprechaun like he's like a demon because he's got like holy water. He's like, to hell with you, creature, to hell with you, and he's like, whatever.
I'm trying to think. Was that guy in the last movie? Like, I know this scene wasn't in the last movie, but was he?
I don't think so. I don't even remember a priest from the last movie at all.
I thought there was like definitely like a scene in church or something, because like they did like that church choir thing.
Oh, that's right. That's the scene that Coolio randomly showed up. I don't know. It's been like 9-10 months since we did that. I've happily expelled most of it from my brain.
I'm just curious for myself now, but
of course you have to know, don't you?
Yeah.
But he sinks into the cement of this work site, and then it comes up saying 1 year later. Now this is important.
Well, no. So I'm sorry, you're jumping ahead. He because I don't want to give spoilers for the ending, but I think you're mixing the ending up with this beginning part, because the beginning part he's like getting pulled down by demons.
sorry. He's pulled down into the ground. Yes, not cement. Yeah. But the 1 year later is important. Because when we cut to a year later, we meet two of our lead characters. We meet Emily and her friend Lisa. And we also meet Jamie, who's the goofy stoner one who's just making dumb lines and dumb jokes like constantly. He's a really annoying character. But they look at this work site. It was supposed to be like a new youth centre for the neighbourhood. But whoever was building it ran out of money. The priest seemed to be like partially involved in it as well. And they say, oh, it's a shame that never got finished. So this is a work site that was abandoned over a year ago, or at least 1 year ago, presumably when the priest died, maybe. And because the priest, while he succeeds in putting the leprechaun away, he sort of drops dead at the end because he's so injured. So this is important for later, right? This is important for near the end of the movie. So I want to point this out now. This work site was abandoned a year ago, mid-building, right, with only some walls partially up.
Right.
Just want to point that out. And from there, we're interested in the characters. There's actually a lot in this opening scene in the present day stuff, because we're introduced to...
Sorry, I was trying to find if the father was in the last one, but I can't find anything saying it. So
I don't think so.
Okay, sorry.
We're introduced to these three characters who talk about the work site. And then we see a guy go back in a red leather jacket and a motorbike who has like, it's not actually chrome, but it's like a chrome looking like coating on his helmet, which was very, stand out. It caught your eye. And there was like already it was like shoving a lot of drama in her face, because like our main girl Emily's looking over all like, oh, there's a history with him, but he's with someone new, and then he awkwardly looks back at her, and then without skipping a beat, a car comes in, and there's like 4 guys in a convertible who are mad at our stoner guy, Jamie, because he owes them money, and they threaten him and steal his shoes. And then the other guy in the bike's still sitting there, and he sort of catches the eye of these thugs, and then they kind of yell at each other a little bit. It turns out he's a rival drug dealer, but also the ex-boyfriend of our main girl, Emily. There's a lot of things thrown at us very quickly in the space of about a minute. In this scene. Yeah,
this isn't a movie that's gonna hold your hand. Like, you definitely have to work for it if you really want to appreciate it.
Yes. So there's a lot of setup. We basically find that they've all got money troubles. Well, maybe not the drug dealer did. Rory, he the one on the bike. He's obviously making money, but the others are all having trouble. Emily wants to go to college, so there's a friend. They want money for that. They're saving up at their crappy job at a salon, which is important for later. A couple of scenes in there. Mostly I was noticing the clock wipes at this point. That was the main thing that was happening. All right. But after all this, so there's a scene where Rory goes to complain because his drugs had a 4-leaf clover in them. And Rory, who gave him said drugs, doesn't know what a clover is, for a start. So he's confused. Then we get the ninja
Smart.
joke.
I just want to say that this smart storytelling.
Is it?
And, yeah, and for 2 reasons. One, there I'm going to throw a film term at you. Foreshadowing is what this is. So it's impressive on that level, but also I do like the choice of him not really knowing what a clover is, because it gives us a chance for them to explain to the audience what it is. And because I mean, like you said, it had been a while since we watched those movies, so I know I needed a refresher.
You did a refresher on the idea of what a 4-leaf clover was.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I was totally clueless, but it helped to, have it re-explained.
This is where, if this was a mockumentary, it would cut to footage of Tim watching it and just looking like he's really confused, and then he explains what a clover is, and he's like, "Oh, did I? Of course, I'd forgotten all along." But I'm rushing through this part, right? I will say right from the get-go, it does feel like it's taken itself slightly more seriously than the last one. I felt like the last one was this trio of main characters that were just doing ridiculous comedy constantly. This one felt not like a serious film, but like it was like trying to pretend to be a horror movie by building up to the villain. So I don't know if that's me giving it credit, but it's something.
We'll take it.
Are you speaking on behalf of the cast and crew?
Yeah.
Okay. Just checking. So for some reason, because it's the Hood, I guess, that mythical Hood that the movies like to talk about. I'm not saying there's no such thing as the Hood, or people use that term. I'm saying that the Hood in movies is a very particular thing that it likes to portray as the Hood. So our main characters decide to have a barbecue on the closed down work site of this building that wasn't finished, because there's no park nearby to go have a barbecue.
It's sad.
Or contrived so that it'd be standing there for the next part of the plot to happen.
Well, I mean, I just think it's like when you look at it like this, youth center is supposed to represent hope, and what we're looking at here is it never got built, so and that's why everyone's having money troubles, and they're kind of feeling a little hopeless, and that's why they're having their barbecue here. So I mean, at least that was my take. I don't know.
So you're saying, sorry, I popped off screen there for a second. So you're saying that because the youth center never got built, that's why they're all having money troubles, because this was going to bring them all jobs. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
I mean, it would have been a beacon of hope and just really would have filled the Hood with a place to assemble and share their lives and their laughs. And
you're saying there would be a good mood in the Hood.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. But unfortunately, Emily falls through some dodgy floorboards that are under some dirt and ends up in the secret basement area where...
Just like the psychic told her.
Yeah, that's right, they go to see a psychic briefly. And she says, you're going to be tempted with good fortune, but it's going to come at a price. And this is so that we can have Leprechaun versus a witch later. That's why that's there. But she finds a chest of gold. And... well, that's that.
Were you surprised?
That she found some gold?
Yeah.
In a Leprechaun movie? Tim, I'd considered the possibility that it might happen.
Oh, there's one thing we didn't talk about too, was that there's also a rainbow.
Oh yes, of course, yes. So when the Leprechaun get pulled into like hell or whatever, either before or just after, like a sort of like rainbow sort of mythically appears above where he's buried, and just before she falls into the hole, there's like a rainbow in that spot that appears. like she's drawn to it. Like there's like, I mean, because you know, there's gold at the end of a rainbow, as people say.
Now, would the movie have worked for you a little better if, like, when the leprechaun got dragged down to hell, that, like, if, like, he was getting dragged, but then, like, his hat, like, came off, and then, like, at the last second, like, Freddy's glove burst out of the ground and, like, grabbed his hat and, like, pulled it down?
It'd have been something to talk about. It's not like Jason Goes to Hell is kind of a high standard of quality here on this show, Tim. You know,
It's fair.
like it's the worst one in that entire franchise, and I would, you know, easily even.
Yeah. Is there more to that sentence?
No. I thought you might agree or disagree or shock us all by saying no. I actually think it's better than 6 or something silly like that.
Oh no, it's definitely the worst one. It's a terrible movie. I agree.
Yeah, you can tell that Tim was serious there for that second when he was talking about something other than Leprechaun, because the complete tone of his voice changed to answer that question. Did anyone notice that? Carney Tim disappeared and real Tim appeared for the briefest of glimpses.
All right. I mean, to each their own. You know, I'm not challenging your opinions. You know, they are what they are.
Okay.
Maybe you're the one putting on an act. I don't know. Maybe you secretly love the movies, but you don't want your cool film friends to know, so you have to come on here and act like the hater.
Don't be silly. I don't have friends. So,
especially like cool film friends. Like, I don't even like know what that would be. It's funny.
Tim, you might be the closest thing I have to a cool film friend. Let that sink in.
Hey, I do own all the Leprechaun movies on DVD, or Blu-ray actually.
Yeah, they're on sale in iTunes recently. There was like $15 for all 8 Leprechaun movies, and I said,
"That's a good deal."
No, thank you. I said no, thank you.
You're waiting for the physical collection. I gotcha.
So she picks up the gold. It cuts to them debating, and Emily's like, "Nah, we'll split this 4 ways. It's fine." Even though the others are bickering over who deserves to get a cut. I mean, they all think she should get a cut because she's literally the one who picked it up and found it and fell through the hole. But the rest of them are all bickering, and she's like, "No, there's enough to go around. We can all take, a quarter of this and go and do." And there's a montage of them spending their money. They tell the stoner not to spend it on drugs, but he buys literal garbage bags full of drugs.
Oh, stoner character.
It also, it's later on in the movie, it has like maybe this is a specific thing that I just don't understand because I'm not in the know of these things, but it looked like a golfer's hat, but he was wearing it upside down. You know, it's got the cap at the front, but it's like open at the top. You know, one of those hats.
Yeah, I mean, we were all doing it in 2003.
Oh, were you? Yeah. That was the style. That was the fashion, was it? At the time. Yeah. Anyway, so there's like I mean, I'm kind of glossing over some of the character drama where Rory's back with Emily because she's under the impression that now that he's been given a lot of money that he will stop trying to build a criminal empire with his drug business. But he of course still is, and he's still kind of seeing the new girl that he met as well, the kind of bitchy one who's really kind of, you know, diva-ish and diva-esque or diva-ish is kind of what I was going for. You know, she's horrible to everywhere. She, you know, when she goes into like a workplace of any kind, like a store or a salon, she's like very awful to the customers or to the employees, and she's like, "Can I get some service, please?" and stuff like that. Really full of herself.
And don't forget, there's a little something interesting in her mouth. Oh,
not yet. That comes a little bit later. That comes a little bit later. I've got thoughts on that.
Okay.
Well, actually, we'll just talk about it. It's like a standalone scene anyway. I don't see why not. So, Rory, that cheeky scamp, you know, I mean, if you can't trust a drug dealer, who can you trust, I suppose? But he gave some of the gold to this girlfriend the one that he's cheating on Emily with, and she goes to, I guess, a jeweler's or a pawn shop or someone. I don't know exactly who this was supposed to be, and gets him to melt down the gold coin and create a gold cap for one of her teeth. And here's the insane. So she's being the way she's been with everyone else in this movie. She's like, oh, can we speed this up? Can we get a move on? Can we get this done? And he literally just takes the coin, puts it in one of his little spoons, and puts it over the Bunsen burner, and it crossfades. More fades. This movie loves its transitions. it transitions further along, and it's like she's been standing there waiting on a Big Mac, at a counter, just waiting for a burger to cook. This is how long it feels like time has passed. And he hands her the gold cap, and she immediately just puts it into her mouth, and it's perfectly covering her tooth. Can I just, I don't know, put forward the idea that maybe a dentist would be involved at some point in the process of getting a cap, I don't know, for measurement's sake. It's not like one size fits all here when it comes to getting a cap for your tooth.
I'll to be fair, I'll give that to you. I didn't think about it. I was kind of so wrapped up in the scene, but you do bring up a good point.
And even if, like, we accept that this guy can just do this and knows how to make a cap out of gold, maybe that's a common request he gets. The fact that he basically is done molding it and hands it over, wouldn't it be like, I don't know, maybe hot to put in our mouth at this point? Would there not be, I don't know, I just, all of it felt like, I mean, I know it's stupid talking about what's far-fetched in a Leprechaun movie, especially a Leprechaun 6, but this was just like jumping over the line for me.
Well, I mean, I do think gold tends to cool down faster than most metals.
Oh, does it? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, I don't know if that's in the play, but I mean, it does seem a bit quick. I'll give that to you.
Yeah. Like I say, it's like she's in a fast food place, and she's just waiting for the person to like get her order from the back and bring it through, and that's it. Like that's how quick it feels. And I know there's a transition, but you don't really get the feeling that much time has passed. It just feels like she's, because there's like the same person standing behind her in the queue as well when it comes ahead.
Are you aware of the Metal Men?
The DC Comics characters? Yes, I'm familiar.
Yeah. Man, I feel like if the Leprechaun was in the DC universe, he'd really want the gold.
Oh, yeah, the Metal Men. Yeah, the gold one. Yeah, the one of them's made of gold. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he probably would. Yeah, I don't know. It's funny because he recognizes his gold. He recognizes the tooth as his gold, and I'm like, oh, can you like sense it, or is it just any gold will do? Like, will you take any gold? There's questions.
Is it a part of his body, like when he gets shot and those little bubbles come out of him? Like, is that gold?
It seemed like it, although he bleeds green, which does not seem very gold-like.
That's true.
Yeah. They should have went all through it, all the way with it, and had gold blood as well. But then,
actually, that would be pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Or cry gold, which seemed I don't know why he'd cry, admittedly, but maybe you could have him cry gold.
It'd be cool if there's a movie where they crucified him on a gold crucifix.
All right, so
can we for I don't know if we still have the merch store up, but we should make a shirt that has like a picture of a crucified leprechaun and it says he died for your sins. Or no, he died for your gold. Actually,
he died for your gold.
Yeah.
Well, I can't draw, Tim. If you want to draw this image, I'll put it on a shirt.
Let's we'll have our fans know if I get 2 people interested in that shirt, I'll try to come up with a design.
You're the one who actually draws here, Tim. Don't look at me to design.
I'm not a good artist. I do like to draw, but I'm not that great. But I can whip something up.
Yes, crucified leprechaun. He died for your gold. All right. Show your interest in the comments, and I'll pass it along, and Tim might make a shirt for you.
And also, if you feel like, what you think the story of Leprechaun the DC universe might be, let us know. I mean, I gotta imagine he's going after gold from the Metal Men, and then Booster Gold might show up at some point.
I also see him fighting with Damien.
Oh, of course, yeah.
It just feels like a natural fitting for some reason.
Sure.
Not your cat, of course. I mean the Robin, Damien.
Of course, yeah.
just to clarify for everyone.
Right.
Where were we? Okay, so we talked about the stupid tooth, right? So we can go back. So basically, the leprechaun wakes up and comes out of the ground once the gold's in distribution, and starts looking for it. The first person he kills is at a party that the stoner guy Jamie's throwing, where he has a scene where another guy who's getting high obviously just thinks he's high when he sees the leprechaun, but then the leprechaun starts using the bong as well. And
this was good.
You sound far too enthusiastic about that.
See, come on, seeing the lep get high, don't tell me that that wasn't good stuff.
Anyway, so it ends with him stabbing him in the stomach with a bong. That's how the scene ends.
Ironic.
Ah, dear.
To have the thing that you loved to smoke out of become your doom? It's pretty ironic. No?
I guess.
You see the irony?
I mean, I said there was less comedy in this one, but obviously here's probably the most you get, which is this scene, and then the following scene where Jamie's making a sandwich, and the joke is that the leprechaun's actually like walking around him the whole time, but Jamie keeps like A, not noticing him, but B, also accidentally hitting him with the fridge door and other, with a drawer. I think at one point he hits him with by accident.
Now, do you think he knocks him in the fridge here, which, I mean, luckily the lep had the munchies, so it's not too bad for him, but...
And also, luckily, all the shelving, which was there a second ago, has all been removed to make sure there's room for him to fit in the fridge, but,
I mean, he's magic, so I don't really... But I gotta ask, though, because this is 2003, well before Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Do you think that Spielberg and Lucas might have watched this at some point and seen the lep, get thrown into a refrigerator and think, hey, wait a minute, this gives me an idea. Maybe we can dust off that old character we used to make movies about and give him a new adventure.
Given the standard of things that George Lucas has been involved in the last, 20, 30 years, it wouldn't shock me. It would. I mean, I don't think. Oh, seriously, I don't think so. But it wouldn't.
I mean, it's hard not to see the parallels, but
the parallels. Yes, he goes into a fridge.
I mean, it's not like that's a very common thing to happen in movies. The fact that we got two iconic franchise returns in the same decade, where the main characters are thrown inside a fridge. Like, you don't think that's a little odd, a little suspicious?
If anything, I would say it was maybe more inspired by the fact that originally in Back to the Future, the time machine was going to be made out of a fridge. And Spielberg produced that, so that there may be a connection with that. You look gobsmacked right now, Tom.
I can't believe. I mean, if you're just gonna come up with nonsense, I don't even know how to respond to that. I'm serious.
We're going to make it out of the fridge.
Sure.
And
right.
And part of the movie was we're going to have to sneak into like some base or something to get it back, in an early draft. It doesn't matter. Anyway,
let's continue, please.
So they find the dead body. They call the police. And this is a weird plot point. Jamie gets arrested, and Lisa, who's been kind of like turning him down because he keeps trying to ask her out like the whole movie, up until this point, finally kisses him before he gets put in the cop car, and then Rory's like, "Hey, don't worry, we're going to come and get you out," and it cuts away, and it's sort of like, in a sense, okay, he said that, but it doesn't sound like they can just walk in and get him out. But apparently they could, because the next time we see Jamie, he's just walking around doing whatever. He's just, there's like no addressing the fact that he went to jail for the night or anything like that, or why he was let out, if they paid some sort of bail or whatever it may be.
It's not important.
Even though the murder weapon would have had his fingerprints all over it because it's his.
I mean, there's bigger things to worry about here. Like where the gold is. I mean, I'm sure the cops probably got some phone calls about a leprechaun and said, all right, you're telling the truth, and let him go.
That's your explanation. Yeah. That's your explanation. Okay. Things turn up heat wise though when it's Emily's last day at the salon. She hates the salon. Sorry, I said that weird. The salon. The salon.
I didn't know if that was just like how you say it over there.
No, it's not. Like, it's not. I just said it weird.
Interesting.
I just said it weird. It was a slip of the tongue. Yeah, the salon. So
it sounds like some like I don't know like annoying rich kids.
Well, to be fair, it's not something I think we say. We say hairdressers. We wouldn't say salon.
Mm-hmm.
Which is maybe why I'm hesitating, because it's not a word that we actually use. And it's also, and as well as a lot of American words I'm used to using, because they're words that come up a lot and given what we're talking about, I don't find myself talking about salons that much. So that may be why. But anyway, so we would call that hairdressers. But anyway, but they also, it's one of these hairdressers which is very common. They also do waxes and things like that, and all the rest of it. So this big, loud, like awkward customer who's yelling wants her waxing and massage done, and Emily wants no part of it, but she's getting forced into it. But before she gets in the room with her, would you believe it, the Lep has decided to give a massage to this woman on his own.
Yeah, I was, as soon as she came in, I was like, I hope the Lep gives her a massage. Because that's just comedy gold.
There was definitely a soundbite potential there with I hope the Lep gives her a massage, and the way you said that. So sure enough, he's got a massage.
Like, the Leprechaun's pretty good at it. She seems to like it.
Well, he ends up standing on her back at one point and just kind of stomping, which seems to work for her, I guess. I don't know. But of course, Emily
a lot of times I like hold my kid in the air, and he likes to stomp with his legs. He just like kick the crap out of me.
Do you find it relaxing?
No. It hurts.
So Emily walks in, screams, seeing a leprechaun. Leprechaun goes after her, demands his gold. She struggles.
And he kills the massage lady.
He does kill the massage lady. And Emily gets away by stabbing the leprechaun in the eye with, like, I didn't even catch what device it was. It was like, I don't know if it was like straighteners or like a clipper or something. But
scissors or something. Oh wait, was it a? Yeah, it might have been like one of those like electric trimmers or something. Yeah,
it was something with a cable. There was like buzzing and stuff.
And the practical effects on the scene were like, so good. When the blood comes out, it's like, it's not CGI.
So I mean, there's some CGI blood later, but there's some practical green blood that squirts onto Emily's face when she stabs him.
I should double check to see who did the effects, because I could see that being like a Stan Winston or something. It looked really good.
Greg Nicotero and Tom Savini teamed up to bring you Leprechaun 6 Back to the Hood. Stan Winston, Jesus Christ. So Emily gets away, goes to get the others. No one believes there's a leprechaun, of course, but they do eventually see evidence of said leprechaun. This part of the movie is a bit of a blur. I'm not gonna lie.
Is there? I think it's sometime around here. I forget what like precedes it, but I think we get the scene coming up soon where the leprechaun is on the phone with someone. Oh,
that's later. That's like after the gang tries to kill Rory.
Oh, right.
That's when they get involved.
That scene is comedy gold.
I don't remember how we get to this scene exactly, but once not Jamie's kind of separate, but once the others believe there is a leprechaun, I think it's because Lisa gets killed. Lisa is killed in her place by the leprechaun. And once that happens, at least Rory's on board, and they kind of debate with Jamie, like, what do? We have to give the gold back, and Roy doesn't want to do that, and he ends up lying and sort of stealing the gold. And he comes back to save them though when the leprechaun shows up, because and this was we skipped over this scene earlier, but earlier on, when the other drug dealers that he was kind of feuding with, he does what I can only describe as a drive-by with a baseball bat on his motorbike, where he just rides up and hits someone in the face with a baseball bat. The way it's edited made it kind of funny, if I'm honest.
It's badass.
So he saves Emily here by doing this to the leprechaun. It's like his big triumphant moment. He hits him with a baseball bat, and Emily gets on the bike and they drive off, which leads them.
I think that's what the kids call a fist pump moment.
No, they don't. Which leads them. It leads up to the police, where because he was driving too fast, the police pull it. And it's the same cops, by the way, they saw earlier, and the cops just like want to arrest him, just cause they, you know,
They're cops.
The cops, yeah.
Cal. All cops are leprechauns.
All cops are leprechauns. So they get her. Although this is weird. I thought they handcuffed both of them, but then later on, Emily just had no handcuffs on. I thought that was a bit. That was maybe like a continuity problem. But
yeah, we'll check the goof section of IMDb.
Sure, we will. But of course, the leprechaun show. Once they're in the back seat of the cop car and they're handcuffed, or at least one of them is, because it's kind of weird to put her in the back seat as well with no handcuffs on. That's like a really weird thing to do. At least as far as like anything I've ever seen in a movie, anyway. Maybe this is normal, but well, at least in the context of putting them in the back seat with someone who is handcuffed, you feel like you wouldn't mix and match. But anyway, so the leprechaun shows up and is like, "Hey, they stole something of mine. Where's my gold?" And they're like, "Oh, that's your gold, is it? That was in the chest." He's like, it is. Yes, give me my gold." And he gets into a fight with the cops where he kills the one cop first, and then the second cop, who apparently knows martial arts, because he starts busting out like high kicks. Well, they're not that high because it's a leprechaun, but you know what I mean. Like, he starts busting out kicks like he's an MMA fighter, and then the leprechaun rips off his leg.
That's right.
And this cop, who he falls down after a minute, but he's sort of hobbling along in one leg.
He doesn't notice at first because it's kind of like a big surprise. Like, yes, the camera pulls out and it's like, my leg.
And he's holding the leg. The cop sort of hobbles for a bit and then falls over. You know what? At least once the action went down here, there was at least some amusement in the leg being ripped off. Like, I can't deny that.
For sure. Yeah.
Minor points.
I mean, I'd say give him a hand for it, but you know. Should probably give him a leg instead.
He doesn't have a leg to stand on, Tim.
Oh, come on. Yeah, I guess that makes a little more sense than what I said.
So luckily the leprechaun bites through the handcuffs, so he's effectively not handcuffed anymore. Although I'm pretty sure that he's not got the actual cuffs on his wrists for the rest of the movie, like he probably should. I think they just disappear.
Well, it makes sense that they just kind of fall off at that point.
Oh, yeah. So they run into Jamie again at some point. They end up being confronted, as we said, by the rival like drug dealer group, who are a bunch of hard heads who think they're big, tough guys. And they're holding them at gunpoint. They want the gold that they've got. They take the gold. And then it's
kind of ironic because usually it's a leprechaun that wants the gold, but these guys want the gold too.
It turns out gold's something that a lot of people would like to get their hands on. Would you believe it?
I mean, talk about your third act stakes raise.
So the leprechaun shows up, and he does make an entrance here, I have to admit, where he drives a cop car, and there's a joke when he tries to, because you see him trying to, like, you know, he goes out of the driver's seat, it cuts to his feet and he can't reach the pedals, which is actually a real thing, in the sense that I've seen Warwick Davis, the actor, I've actually seen him driving, and he has like there's like extenders that he has on the pedals.
Where have you seen this? Like in your neighborhood, or?
No, it's in I think it's in the show Life's Too Short, where he was the main.
Life's Too Short, yeah.
Yeah, he was the main. He was kind of. I mean, obviously it's fictional, but he's playing himself. But I assume that the stuff that he's got in his car so he can drive it is probably just accurate. It's probably just what he has. Yeah. Of course, he does not have that here. Being a leprechaun, he instead decides to use the severed leg of the cop to press down. But it leads to an entrance because the cop car rolls up, the door opens, and you see the leg come down, and then everyone's like, "Oh, the cops!" And it looks like someone coming out of a car. You know, it looks like the leg coming down to get out of the car, but then the leg just falls over, and they all freak out. It's the leprechaun.
It's good.
There's a joke here where Leprechaun's like, "Hey lads, they've got something of mine. You've stolen from them, but they stole from me." But he gets interrupted because this drug dealer's phone goes, and it's his missus, who's very upset with him at first by the sounds of it. But it's kind of that classic, you know, stereotypical joke of tough guy doesn't want to be caught being nice to his girlfriend in front of the other guys, so he's like whispering, he's like, yeah, you know, nothing wrong, baby, blah, blah, blah. And when she says I love you, then he's like, yeah, me too, and he sort of hangs up. But and the joke is that the leprechaun's just kind of waiting for the call to end up so they can continue their confrontation, which this is kind of like a spiritual follow-up to a much superior movie. You know that I'm going to talk about Jason Takes Manhattan here a little bit.
Of course.
Because the drug dealer decides to effectively box the Lep by punching him, and he goes flying into some rubbish, into the garbage, and he gets back up, and he keeps punching him, and he keeps going flying every time, but he just keeps doing it because he can take the hits and keep getting back up, and eventually the guy's getting tired. This is, you know, it's a little similar to the boxer in Jason Takes Manhattan, who tries to box Jason and just eventually gets tired. Although the Lep, not tall enough to punch his head off, instead just reaches in and pulls out his heart.
Which is good. It's a good scene.
Which leads to all of his co-workers, if you will, riddling him with bullets. The three of them with machine guns just mow him down. But
That's funny.
It does feel like a bit overkill. But
it reminds me of like RoboCop.
Yeah. But then he gets back up and proceeds to kill all of them. And our main characters run away in the car that belongs to the drug dealers, which is one of those, you know, what do you call them? Those cars.
Lowrider?
Yeah, the ones that can go up and down. Those stupid cars. That
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't get the point of that, but
No, it's a flaunting thing. You know, it's like, hey, look at my car. It can do the same thing that everyone can do with their penis. Like, whoa.
Okay.
Come on, it's always guys who are like trying to look manly with the cars.
Yeah, no, I gotcha.
It's never a woman who gets the car that can flex.
Sure.
I'm not saying women don't like nice cars, because they do, but they're never a car that does this.
Right.
Just putting that out there in the world. Well, what did you think, Tim? Because then we get a scene where the leprechaun is like hanging onto the bottom of the car like he's in Indiana Jones or in maybe Speed, and you know, when Keanu Reeves is under the bus.
Yeah. Fantastic. I honestly could have watched a whole movie of this. Well, what's great about the leprechaun is he's always somewhere the way you don't expect him to be. Like, just when you always think you got rid of him, but you know, he's always there. He's always, you know, behind a seat or behind a door, under a car, but he's waiting there. He's gonna get you.
So they end up outside the
Kind of like It Follows.
don't you compare? Don't you
he's
dare
always
compare,
coming after you.
Don't compare Leprechaun to It Follows. You can say the same about Michael Myers. Like, don't dare try to form a connection between Leprechaun and one of the best horror movies ever made. You prick.
All right. Just thought popped in my head.
Uh-huh. So they just happen to be outside the psychic's house whenever they stop, and they go into the psychic's house, and I'll admit I did laugh a little bit. There's a guy getting a reading who's like, because they interrupt to say, hey, we need help, and this guy's there like sitting there, and she's got like a her crystal ball out, and he's like, but what about my dead wife? And like Rory just sort of like grabs him by the arm and says, she'll be dead tomorrow.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Okay, that was a mildly amusing line. I'll give you a point. And immediately the psychic's like, oh, you did not heed my warning. You took the gold. They always take the gold. So it's not even just that she knew something ominous was going to happen. She specifically knew it was going to be a leprechaun. It was going to come after her.
Yeah, I feel like so much could have been avoided if she would have just said that in the beginning.
She specifically knew it was going to be a leprechaun, and then proceeds to tell us what the opening like drawings kind of told us. But would you believe it? She actually has powers, because when Leprechaun shows up, she actually immediately goes like, and her eyes light up, and she's got like a vortex ball, like it's like Doctor Strange or some shit, and she's like going to fight the Leprechaun with it, and I'm like, what? This is literally like a witch versus Leprechaun here. Like why isn't the movie about her? Why is it about the witch fighting Leprechaun?
I mean, if leprechauns exist in this universe, I think we can safely assume that witches also exist. But I mean, I agree though. I could have definitely used more of this. Yeah, because to finally meet someone that can go toe to toe with the leprechaun on like a physical, power sense, that's exciting. That's something that I think audiences like to see.
I can't believe the tone in your voice as you say something that is that much bullshit. So the other thing here is that she says the leprechaun's only got two weaknesses, and one is his gold, which isn't really, I mean, it's a weakness in the sense that he cares about it, but it's not really something you can use to fight him. Maybe you can lure him somewhere with some of his gold, I suppose, but
yeah.
But then the other one is the four-leaf clover, which, has this come up much in the previous
This
film?
blew my mind when they said this.
Has the four-leaf clover come up that much in the previous movies? I don't remember it coming up.
Just the first one, I think. I don't, because it was a big deal in the first movie. I don't know if they've mentioned it much since then. I forget.
Weird, but basically this leads to Rory getting out his gun, and he starts filling his bullets with mushed up four-leaf clover, which luckily Jamie still had in his pocket from, as Tim put it, the foreshadowing. Although I would argue it's not foreshadowing, it's Chekhov's four-leaf clover, which is not foreshadowing, it's set up for later.
How badass was this, though? Like this, like this scene is so cool. It's like the nice little calm, get ready scene before the big fight, and you know that those clover bullets are gonna hit the leprechaun at some point.
And they do, and he shoots him. He has like gold blobs coming out of him, as you pointed out earlier. Jamie hits him with a bat, and then the bag is broken in half and stabbed into his leg, which was kind of a payoff because he was like frustrated that he was only getting a baseball bat to use. But he was very, very brave when he jumped in to save his friends with the baseball bat. Which also came after a joke that lasted like 30 seconds, where he was convinced that all of the weaknesses that a vampire has would also apply to leprechauns, because he said, why don't we just wait until tomorrow morning and that'll kill him. It's like, he's not a vampire.
It's funny.
I know the rules for one mythical creature, therefore they must apply to every single mythical creature that we ever find. So they end up, the witch gets killed by the leprechaun. They end up on the roof.
This is kind of after the furnace scene.
Oh, sorry, yeah, they end up in the basement first, where she puts him into a furnace. And we actually see his skull after his like skin burns off. But of course, like nothing else has killed him all movies, so I'm not sure why she thought this would work. But
hey, gotta give it a shot,
He pops back up. at some point in this section, Rory gets like his knee hit, and it sort of like basically breaks his kneecap or whatever.
Oof,
and he's limping around. He can't really do anything anymore. It all ends in a big climax on the roof where the Lep is hanging off the edge of the roof with Emily, and Rory finally unjams his gun and shoots the Lep, who
I think it like jammed like twice.
It did, yeah. Well, that was set up like the really, like Jamie said earlier. Why did you buy a Glock? They always jam, and then and I'm
foreshadowing.
Thinking, yeah. Kind of. I guess that's more for like when it's a direct plot setup. It's not really foreshadowing. Like a foreshadowing's like So it's in Terminator 2, Tim, right?
I'm glad you're bringing this up.
Right. In Terminator 2, when the T-1000 and Arnold first fight, when they run into John Connor in the mall, and there's that moment where he throws Arnold through the glass in the store, and the T-1000 turns and looks at the silver mannequin for a second, and then walks away. That's foreshadowing, because it's foreshadowing what the T-1000 looks like when he's, not, pretending to be human. Right? That's foreshadowing, but it's not set up.
Okay.
You don't need it to understand anything. It's just, it's a tease. It's a little tease.
Gotcha.
So someone's setting up that there is a device which could be used, and then that device being used later is not foreshadowing. It's a set up and payoff. It's a Chekhov's device.
Okay.
most traditionally a gun, but you can use it with that. Chekhov's Viagra, for example. You could,
All right.
So this is a weird thing to bring up, but I learned this week, I think, like Pfizer, who obviously make one of the vaccines, also make Viagra. So I'll just, saving lives in more ways than one. It's all
Just make sure you're getting the right shot.
Oh, that was an awkward day walking out of that vaccination center. Everyone was giving me stares. Like, put that thing away. All right. So we get like an almost Die Hard-esque ending where, much like Hans Gruber, the Lep falls from the building. I mean, it's not a skyscraper. It's it's like 4 stories. It's not as big, but that works because the Leprechaun's also about half the size of most people. So, we glossed over the phone call you wanted to talk about.
Oh, I just thought it was hilarious when the Leper's talking to this woman on the phone, and at first they're a little hostile towards each other, but then she kind of starts being charmed by him, honestly.
Yeah, it's the woman who phoned the drug dealer first, because he's got his phone in his car. So he answers the phone, and once she realizes it's someone else, and she's like, "Oh, what you like?" He's like, "Well, I've got red hair." And it's like, "You got a good figure?" It's like, "Yeah, I think my figure's pretty good." And it's all building up to, "How tall are you, baby?" And he's like, "Oh, about 3'6". 3'6". And then she hangs up, and he looks genuinely hurt, honestly.
He did. He said 3'6", but I make up for it in other ways.
Yes.
Which you can kind of take a couple of different ways. Like maybe he's making a penis joke, but he also might just be talking about leprechaun powers.
When you said you can take it a couple of different ways, immediately my head went to, yeah, and the ass and the mouth.
Sure, I mean, suppose.
But anyway, so remember way back when we were at the start of the plot, and I said this work site, which is across the road apparently, or not even across the road, it's like right next to, because he falls into it, right? But this work site that stopped functioning and was abandoned a year ago, the Leprechaun falls into it and falls into the wet cement.
Whoa, did not see that coming.
Wet cement on a work site that has been abandoned for at least a year.
Well, maybe they were starting up again.
You're familiar that cement dries, right? And that hardens, You're
Most of the
familiar with
time.
that? Most of the time. Is there a special type of cement?
There might be. I don't know. I'm not a cement expert. I can't
Is there a
100% confidently say that all cement is all dry at all times.
Is there a T1000 equivalent? Liquid cement.
This did actually kind of remind me of the end of Terminator 2 when he's like struggling in the liquid.
You were expecting the thumb to come up.
It kind of was.
And this does seem to actually put an end to the Lep as he falls into the wet cement and disappears. Although the important thing here is all the gold falls in with him, so presumably that's why it actually works.
Yeah.
Maybe you could argue the gold magically made the cement wet, but you are really grasping at straws if you're if you're going with that.
I like that explanation. That works.
And not only that, it's the middle of the night, so even if they had been working on it during the day, I mean, I don't know how quickly cement dries, but this stuff is like completely liquid. Like, this is not even like just soft cement. It's
It's wet cement for sure.
Yeah, it's fresh out the kitchen, as it were.
Yeah, I wonder what they used, because it did look like real cement.
Oh yeah, because you know what wet cement looks like in real life. You've been around a lot of it.
Hey, I built my fair share of structures.
Were any of them not Lego?
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I'll say that.
When I build my Lego, I like to do a cement foundation to make it very secure.
Of course.
He gets an old cat litter tray and fills it with cement, and then that's his base. Oh. So, yeah. At one point, when the Lep gets shot here, he ends up lying with a pool of blood, and the blood was clearly CG, which is why I mentioned earlier there was a pool of CG blood.
It looked good though, for CGI blood. At least it looked good.
It was as bad as you think a low budget 2003 CGI pool of blood would look. Right.
At the time, though, it looked good. Like if you watched this in 2003, you would have been impressed.
I mean, the fact that we've brought up Terminator 2 multiple times, that actually it was one of the first big CG movies that had actual pools of CG because of the T1000. This looks worse than that, and it's 12 years newer. So take that as you may.
I guess I'd have to see them side by side.
And apparently,
to make a judgment call.
Because of this, by the way, so after this, right? There's one montage after this, right? At the end of the movie, we cut to Rory, who this whole scene couldn't stand because of his knee, right? He literally was crawling because he couldn't stand on his leg. He only had the one leg to stand on, much like the police officer.
Yes.
But it cuts to them like riding on his bike, and she's like behind him on the bike, and it's not a time jump because they're wearing the same clothes. Both of them are wearing the same clothes, and they're smiling and happy. He's not in any pain. I'm like, well, that leg healed quick. That feels like that healed a treat. That did.
Well, maybe because maybe if the injury was caused by the leprechaun, maybe once like the leprechaun was fully dead, it went back to normal.
Interesting theory.
That's the fan theory I'm putting out there.
So there's a quick montage of Jamie playing basketball, who did survive his leg stabbing, because we're so happy he survived. And then Rory, who's apparently given up his life of crime because Emily's happy to be with him now. They kiss, and the movie fades to black, but one final little shot because we see the storybook close and it says the end.
Oh,
here endeth the 6-movie journey with the Warwick Davis Leprechaun movies.
Yeah, and what a love letter to all your major horror franchises. I mean, you got the obvious Nightmare on Elm Street references with the furnace, them throwing him into the furnace. Obviously the him falling into the wet cement was reference to Terminator 2. The possible It Follows references. this was definitely a movie that is for the fans, for fans of the genre. I would say.
What is that genre exactly?
Leprechaun horror movies.
Knee-high mischief, as you once coined.
Knee-high mischief, yeah.
Yes. I gotta say, I'm more of a Gremlins and Critters man when it comes to knee-high mischief. Maybe Puppet Master as well, which we've got to do someday. But yeah, okay, so thankfully that's the movie. Do you know what? I don't really want to watch the next two, but I will say this: there's one silver lining to doing the next one. Is that Tim hates it. Tim hates the next one.
I mean, spoilers alert. Spoilers alerts. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to give everything away, but I mean, I've only seen it once, so who knows? Maybe now that I'm a father, I'll look at it differently. But the one time I did see it though was possibly the maddest I've ever been.
I love the idea that you're going to watch every movie you've never liked again, just in case being a father is going to change the experience. You're going to watch that Kevin Bacon movie, The Darkness, again, just in case that the bad editing somehow is fixed, because you're now a father. Now your fruit has spread.
Yes. Well, you never know. Sometimes, some people think that movie watching is a passive medium. But I think it's kind of a two-way street. I think you bring as much to the movie as the filmmakers did.
Yes.
And your life experiences kind of shape what you bring to the table. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a cool film guy.
Was that a sly reference to the cool film friend conversation from earlier? 'Cause that's so well done. Well done. That was nice to call back. All right, I think we can rate this.
I was foreshadowing it earlier.
Shut up. I think we can rate Leprechaun Back to the Hood. Tim, if you please.
So it's not my favorite in the series. I mean, I think I used to say number 2 is my favorite, but when we were rewatching them, I actually really liked number 3. I found it particularly prescient. But this one is still good. Like I said, I didn't think there's much more you could do in the hood, but they managed to actually, manage to do some cool stuff with it. And I think it actually, if you take 4, 5, and 6, it actually makes a nice little trilogy.
Whoa! How is the one in space the first part of a trilogy that ends with the 2 in the Hood movies?
I can't explain it. I just think that it's just a good. They accompany each other well. But no, I mean, this was great. This was a thrill. It was great to see the Lep come back. He had some great comedic timing, like when he gets bumped in the fridge or when he gives a lady a massage. I'm laughing just thinking about it. So yeah, I mean, I guess like between the comedic timing, the kills, the special effects, the wipes,
the wipes.
I love the wipes. What can I say? It was good.
It's appropriate we're talking about wipes because you have to wipe shit from your arse, and this movie's shit.
Yeah, but what happens after you wipe? Your butt's clean.
That is true. That is true.
So this is a nice. So since this is a nice clean movie, I'm gonna give it a nice clean 8 out of 10.
8. So this is on par with The Boy for you, because that's what you give The Boy. I want to just make that clear.
I like them for different reasons, but yeah, I think they're both good.
Okay. All right. Well, it's not the worst one. The last In the Hood movie was definitely worse. I don't really remember what I rated the old ones now at this point. My instinct though is to say that this is really bad. Bad acting. It kind of cuts away from a lot of the actual, kill moments. You don't see the penetration of a lot of the implements, just the aftermath. I would say that it's got a couple of funny moments here or there. It's unlike the last one, it actually is so bad it's in a funny way occasionally. So it's a little better to watch, but not particularly good. So I think I'm happy to give this a nice even 3 out of 10.
Oh, okay. Not bad, not the worst score.
So there you go. And it's only on Screams After Midnight that Leprechaun 6 would be one of the longer reviews we do. And that is Tim's fault. That's
probably about as long as the movie, I'd say.
Almost that, yeah. It's about 90 minutes, the movie, yeah. So with that said, that's Leprechaun Back to the Hood. Apologies. Tim, would you like to pose for the thumbnail?
Sure.
I mean, it's not really a choice. It's just kind of a rhetorical question. All right.
Yeah.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Pause. What are you? What's this meant to represent exactly? What's going on?
It's just a pose. It doesn't represent anything.
You're going for the I'm dying and I can't get up sort of feel. That's what it looked like. Okay, well there you go. That's Tim's pose. Well, it is October, and it's not like previous October-thons, of course, but we are going to.
Oh, I thought it was March.
But we are going to keep recording more episodes. Like I said on the first one back, it's a little open-ended as to how consistent the schedule will be, both this month and especially when we go slow down again for November. But we'll try to give you at least an episode in November and 1 or 2 Christmas movies, and maybe more. Maybe we'll get into the rhythm of recording. Maybe but there's no guarantee that we're back to like regular swing yet. But we're back.
And nothing in life is guaranteed. You can walk out tomorrow and die. So.
Very somber point to end the show on. But hopefully you're enjoying the return of the show. Thank you to our Patreon producers. So thank you to Tyler Hess, Cindy Palacios, David Sharp, Bordendown, Al Treisman, Christopher Moy, David Brown, and Stanley. They are all at one of the higher tiers on Patreon, which gives them a producer credit. But you can support us at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV for as little as $1 per month and get some bonuses for your trouble. Obviously, some of the bonuses for Screams have been on pause since the show's not been around. But and they're not back straight away. They're not back until we're going to be back on a regular schedule. But they will be coming back probably, if not before then, certainly I would say early next year. But that said, though, we did just decide probably today or tomorrow on Patreon there will be a vote at the $5 and up tier for Screams. It's not a return to a regular vote, but there is going to be one for this month for $5 and up patrons. So make sure you go and state your voice your opinion.
And don't forget to watch the Ace.
Yes, the Atomic Cinema Experiment. Thank you. Look at Tim plugging other content. What a team player. Fatherhood has changed you.
When's the last time Connor did that?
He's never, ever done that.
That little traitor he doesn't even plug his own the Mild Fuzz stuff. He just goes and makes his own side podcast. Ugh.
I know.
I hate him.
Those scum. I know. He's the worst.
Garbage.
You can also support us.
Kind of love him.
You can also support us for free simply by hitting the like button, subscribing, dinging the bell on YouTube for notifications, or giving us a 5-star review on iTunes or whatever podcast service you use to listen to the audio version of the show.
Imagine someone giving 5 stars for this episode.
They're out there. They exist. I have faith in that. So please do any and all those things. And of course you can also catch us on Twitter at Screams Midnight, which is the home of not only Screams After Midnight but all the Mailed Fuzz movies content. So go and have a look at Screams Midnight. But that is us. That has been the episode. So thank you very much for joining us. And if nothing else, Leprechaun 6, Back to the Hood, is done. It's in the books. It's over and done with. I don't have to fear it anymore. So thank you very much for joining us. Once again, we always appreciate it. Keep watching scary movies. We will see you next time.